Well, let's compare
knows?
Deshaun Watson
Yeah.
and then Joe Flacco.
Mhm.
So Joe Flacco.
By the way, I hate that comparison, but let's do it.
Let's just take what they're capable of doing.
Yes.
I feel like Joe Flacco could take a moderately good offensive line and still make plays happen in spite of not having proper protection.
Sure.
I think Deshaun Watson, if you don't give him a perfect pocket and perfect protection, he can't do in his skill set. I think that he's just average because he needs that extra protection to do his thing.
So if we're going to compare them, we'll compare the pros and the cons just on the field stuff, not off the field stuff. Deshaun Watson is by far the superior athlete. I would say Joe Flacco has better arm strength. I would say Joe Flacco is probably the more of the gunslinger mentality, where he will take more chances. He will throw the deep ball. But Deshaun Watson wants to make stuff happen out of the pocket. He left a couple clean pockets, and you could tell he looked frazzled. And the one thing Joe Flacco had going for him last year, how I compared Joe Flacco to some people was saying he's kind of like that summer fling girlfriend that maybe you had in high school or college. It was like, that was a hell of a lot of fun for 6 weeks, but it's time to move on. You know, like you go back to school, she goes back to her school, whatever. And it was fun while it lasted, but it's over. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.
Right. Well, you learn something from that, because what Joe Flacco was able to do is frustrate defenses because he played outside of the mechanics. He didn't play straight up ball. He made you kind of think there's a wild card coming in here.
Yeah.
And then so they backed off their plan, and then that's when he struck. Where Deshaun is like more mathematically accurate. You give him an offensive line and he can make things happen. But I don't think that's our team this year. Right. So if I'm the consultant for the offensive coordinator, I'm saying let's get Tricky Dicky from the get-go, and we got to play a psychological game rather than a mathematical game.
I think that's where the problem is, the psychological game, because that's where I think Joe Flacco really thrived last year. He made a crap ton of mistakes last year, but he just moves on. He's like, I'm going to make that throw, and I know I can make it. He had confidence. If you looked at Deshaun Watson, he looked like a guy that hadn't played football in a long time. He looked like a guy that didn't know what the hell he was doing. He looked like a guy that was frankly scared. And he looked like a guy that knew, hey, there's another lawsuit maybe. And I do want to say, part of me, and again, I know the off the field stuff is bad. Part of me felt really bad for him because after the game, a lot of people found out his father had passed away on Friday. Now, this wasn't a father that he grew up with, but that will still affect you. And one of his best friends from college had passed away the day before, was shot and killed. So not making excuses. He said it himself. He's like, I'm not making excuses. For those 3-4 hours I'm on the field, it is what it is. We're focused on football. But
you know that
has to affect anyone.
Two deaths. The fans, will turn on you in 30 seconds.
Yep.
Your dick problems on the outside of the game, like that stuff weighs on you. How can you buy in when but nobody's bought into you?
Yeah, and I think he knows it too, that like Flacco came in and he was kind of like this almost like this honorary like hero of the town of Cleveland. He was someone we rooted against for a long time, comes in and saves the season. Whereas Deshaun, we know all the off the field stuff. We know everything we've given up for him, but we're hopefully winning in spite of him, not because of him. Whereas Flacco was like, he's throwing for 300 yards a game. He's doing this, he's doing that. The team is like, like you said, you're playing Stefanski ball. You're under center. You're running the ball well still, but you're also like under center. You're play action faking. You're hitting those deep balls, and it seemed like the team just had this vibe with him. Whereas with Deshaun Watson, it feels totally disjointed, and I don't know where to go with it from there.